Ayo, what up, everybody? Welcome into episode one of a three-part series. So something really cool that we've been working on is we've been working on our playbook in NLCA. And essentially what the playbook is how we take students from $0 to $10,000 a month, then from $10,000 to $20,000 a month, and how we take students from $20,000 a month to $84,000 a month. These are sectioned out into our three programs. We have our apprenticeship program, our mastery accelerator program, and our mastery program. Apprenticeship is for zero to 10, mastery accelerator is for 10 to 20, and then mastery is for $20,000 to $84,000 a month. And like I said, I sat down and I really created the playbooks for each one. And the playbooks is the step-by-step process in which we accomplish those feats. And I recorded videos for both our students and our coaches to help train them. And I was like, man, this would make a really good three-part series. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing on the podcast and on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're interested to learn how to go from $0 to $10,000 a month, $10,000 to $20,000 a month, and $20,000 to $84,000 a month, you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast. You're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel so that you guys can listen to this three-part series. All right. So this is episode one, how to go from $0 to $10,000 a month. I'll see you guys in a minute. All right, NLCA coach, inside of this video, I'm going to break down the NLCA apprenticeship methodology. All right, so the goal of our methodology here is to get students from $0K a month to consistent $10,000 months. Now, by the end of apprenticeship as of the time of this recording is 4 months long. By the end of apprenticeship, we're expecting them or hoping for them to have at least one $10,000 month. All right, so let me share my screen and let me walk you through. Okay, so this is the playbook. You're going to see this playbook. It's going to be linked at the top of every single client sheet where you guys take notes on your one-to-one calls. And the way to use this is reference it. All right, so reference it, see where they're at, use this as a place and a means to check off the box that if the student has accomplished the step. All right, because like I said, the goal here is to move the students through each one of these steps. So view these as checkpoints. And what I'm going to explain in this video is when you can move a student to that next checkpoint. And in apprenticeship, I believe we have 12. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we have 12 steps in apprenticeship. Okay, so let's break down each step. Like I said, use this as a framework to know when to move your student to the next step. So the very first one is certification. So here's our premise, here's our philosophy on this. You want to ensure that the student has the knowledge necessary to get a client result or to get a client results. Okay, they do not have to have a certification per se, but they need to either be knowledgeable enough to get a client results or in the process of getting certified. All right, they don't have to be certified to move on to step 2. You just personally need to feel as a coach that they have enough knowledge to teach a client. And a really good, an even better framework to think through this is you can ask them, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel in your coaching ability? Well, coach, I feel like I'm a 6. Then you can relay back to them. Awesome. If you feel like you're a 6, then the type of client that we're going to help you find are people at steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because if you're at a 6, you can always teach the people before you how to become a 6. And then over time, we'll increase your 6 to a 7, 8, 9, and 10, and increase the types of clients that you can bring on. All right. So that's certification. Do they have the knowledge to get a client, some type of client, a result? Okay, step number 2 is mindset, right? So once we could check that box off, we can go to the next step, which is mindset. So right here, what we're going to do is we're going to ensure that they have gotten over their fears, anxieties, and self-limiting beliefs enough to get started. And the word enough is really important because what I'm not wanting here is it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It's not like you have no anxiety anymore, you have no fear, you have no doubt. No, that's never going to go away. Even I experience that to this day. It's a normal part of business to have that, right? But the goal here in step 2 is to get them over their fears, anxieties, and self-limiting beliefs enough to just take that first step, to get started, right? To create the momentum, to move to step 3, right? And when you feel like you've done that, like, hey, are you ready to take that first step? And they say yes, boom, you can check this box here for mindset, and we can move them on to admin steps, the next step here. Okay. So for admin steps, they do have to complete the systems module. All right. So what completion of the systems module means is they need to have their payment processor set up. They need to have a way for their potential clients to apply. Example here would be Typeform. They need to have a way to send calendar reminders for calls and schedule calls. That would be Calendly. They need to have a system for signing clients agreements. That would be DocuSign, right? So all of the softwares that we teach in the systems module should be completed. Okay, once we could check that box, we can move into financial systems. All right, for financial systems, it's really two things here. All right, so we're gonna begin applying for the LLC, EIN, and business bank account. All right, begin applying is really important. All right, it doesn't mean that they have to have their LLC, EIN, and business bank account. It just means that they need to begin applying for it because, excuse me, the reason is, getting your LLC, EIN, and business bank account, that could be a 30-day turnover. And if we tell them that we have to wait until they get those things, then, it's going to be a nightmare, right? They're going to be waiting around a month. Their client experience is going to suck. So all they have to do here is just begin that process. All right. The next step here for financial systems is they just need to get their QuickBooks set up, learn how to use it, get acquainted with it. All right, that's financial systems. Once we can do those things, we can check the box. All right, now we can move on to ideal client. All right, so for ideal client, we just need to have a rough idea of what challenge they plan to solve and who they plan to solve it for. All right, this does not have to be perfect, right? I'm not saying they need to know the hair color of their ideal client, what their ideal client does on a Friday night, right? Like how much their client weighs down to the absolute pound. All right, what we're trying to create here is just a rough idea, and there's really just two questions they have to answer. All right, and two questions that you have to ask and get answered is, hey, what challenge is your program going to solve, and who does it solve it for? All right, if we can get the rough answer to those two questions, we could check this box, and then we can move to the next step, which is creating an offer. Right, so once we can answer those two questions, who are we going to serve and what challenge do we solve? We then can create an offer around those things. All right. So creating an offer, this one's pretty cut and dry. It's, we need to build a clear offer. So what are they actually going to deliver when somebody signs on? And then what's the pricing structure going to be, right? Are we going to do, payment plan, pay in full? Is there going to be one price? How many different tiers do we have? How many different lengths of term do we have, right? Checking off all those boxes, getting a clear pricing structure in place, building on a clear offer. Boom, checkbox done. All right. Once we can create an ideal client and create an offer, now we can actually market, right? Now we know who we're marketing to, the problem that we're solving, the offer that we created. Now we can scream from the theoretical rooftops and we can market. All right, so with marketing, it's really two things. They need to choose one social media platform to use based on their ideal client. All right, so we're going to choose just one social media platform based on their ideal client. So where does their ideal client hang out most? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it TikTok, right? Help them choose that one platform. All right, step number two is we're going to help them create a clear social media game plan based on their ideal client and the challenge that they solve. So what this means, and maybe I need to add some more specifics here, what this means that we need to help them create what date, how many times a week they're going to post, what topics they're going to post, right? I'll create maybe a more clear step-by-step here, but really it's like, what are the topics that we're going to post? When are we going to post? Meaning like what days of the week are we going to post? How many times a week are we going to post, right? Just answering some of those basic questions. Even maybe helping them create a social media content calendar, which we do have inside of the course. Okay. Once we check off that box, marketing, which is getting attention, we now need to learn how to convert that attention into a phone call appointment. All right, so for the apprenticeship level student, they just need to learn the first of the 6 lead gen skills that are taught through NLCA. You'll have this link here, so you can click this link at any time. This is the lead gen cheat sheet, but I can just tell you right now, the first is outbound messaging and earned media. All right. Earned media basically means creating content with getting people to reach out to you. Outbound messaging essentially means that, we're doing cold DMs here. Okay. So why cold DMs? Why outbound messaging to begin? Because a lot of these students in the apprenticeship program, they don't have a lot of capital yet to start ads. They don't really have a lot of skills to do, owned media or affiliates. They don't have any clients to do referrals. So this is really the only option that they have, because at this stage of business, all they have is their time and their effort. They don't really have a lot of capital. So the vision that you want to paint here is, hey, we're gonna have a sprint to trying to get you as many clients as we can, so we can start outsourcing DMs, which we'll teach you in the Mastery Accelerator program. And we can start, running some ads so that you're not worried about going out and finding people all the time. So you have to paint light at the end of the tunnel for them, because this is quite a grueling stage of lead generation in the grand scheme of business. Like, actually, it's basically like manual labor. It's like digging holes, digging ditches, if you will. All right. So they have to become proficient. So that's part one, is teaching them that. Part two is they must become proficient at outbound and earns before they can move on to step two, which is in this lead gen cheat sheet, which is referral systems. All right. So that would be step two. By the end of apprenticeship, they don't have to have step one and step two done. They really just have to have step one down. Step two, we could teach inside of Mastery Accelerator. But if you notice a student gets there much quicker, we could definitely teach them referral systems. Okay. So, marketing, lead gen, they just learned how to book a call. Now they need to learn how to actually close a call. So 5 steps here. All right. Step one is they need to have clear sales targets. All right. Very clear sales targets. What are my targets? I can't tell you how profound knowing targets, and especially daily targets, was really helpful for me in the beginning, knowing like what I needed to produce to actually reach my goals. Really important. Also makes it very clear and direct, and eliminates a lot of overwhelm. So right here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to direct them to go to the target setting module. You're going to want to direct them to that step-by-step methodology. Okay, step two, not methodology, sorry, target setting process. Step two, choose between a 1 or a 2 call close. So if you could tell they have a good sales aptitude, we could probably put them right into a 1 call close. If we could tell that, they're probably a little bit nervous, we should do a 2 call close. All right. Next is developing their sales script. So obviously we provide sales scripts inside of the module. So what I mean by developing their sales script is developing their own voice using our sales script. So getting them to the point where they don't have to read the script word for word, and instead they just have their own tonality about things. All right, step 4 is developing the skill of selling over the phone. All right, so what this would look like to me is on your one-to-one calls, you should do role play, right? You should do call reviews, have them bring calls to your one-to-one calls and review their one-to-one, bring their sales calls to your one-to-one calls and review their sales calls on your one-to-one calls. Man, that's a tongue twister. But really developing and honing in on the skill of selling. Role play, call review. All right. The next one here is start the basics of sales tracking. All right, so go to the sales tracking portion, make sure that they have the basics of sales tracking down. The reason that's important is we're going to add elements of tracking as they move through our program, as they move through Mastery Accelerator and Mastery. Okay, next here we have client onboarding. All right, so now we've just taught them how to sell a client. Now we need to teach them how to onboard a client. Extremely important. All right, so what we're doing here is we're going to help them build out a clearly defined step-by-step onboarding process from the end of the sales call until the client gets the deliverables. Really important. Onboarding onboarding starts at the end of the sales call. So making sure that, their step-by-step process it starts there. All right. And what you want to help them create here is you want them to create a checklist, if you will, of their onboarding process. And you should encourage them to print that. You should encourage them to have that on their desk. You should encourage them to really, have that in the forefront so they can develop this system. One second. Because this system is extremely important. This is going to increase retention. It's going to increase client experience. It's going to help increase or decrease rather refund requests and things of that nature. So really important step here. All right, we just taught a student how to onboard a client. Now we're going to teach them how to deliver. Okay, so There's really two ways to view client delivery. You have IQ and EQ. EQ is emotional intelligence. IQ is basically logical thinking. So what you have to help them create in this section is help them create clearly defined and repeatable week-to-week experience for their customers. So week to week, what does the experience look like? When did the check-ins happen? What did the check-ins look like? What are the additional things that you do for your clients on a week-to-week basis? All right. If you have group calls, when are the group calls, right? So really clearly defining out and mapping out what the week-to-week experience looks like for each client, so it's predictable, and the coach doesn't have to think twice on like, oh, what do I do on week 9 of 12 of this program, right? Like what do I do? When do I check in, right? This just creates a clear path, much like how I'm going through this video right now, right? Is a very clear path. You want to help the students create that clear path as well. The EQ side of this is how they relate to the client, right? So there's really two steps to client delivery. You need to have a good step-by-step methodical process, and you also need to have the ability to relate with clients and connect with clients. Okay, client retention. So this is the last step in the apprenticeship program, and you want to build out a clearly defined re-sign process. I'm going to add some more steps in here just because I could tell as I'm looking at it, it's a little bit vague. But essentially, what I'm wanting here is: do they do voice memo re-signs? Do they do phone call re-signs? When do they actually have the re-sign call or voice memo? Are they future pacing? Is there some part in their process where they're helping their student create a future goal, so there's actually a reason to resign? A lot of times the resigns don't happen is because there was never a future goal created to give the client a reason to resign, right? So those are kind of the checkpoints there. I'll add to that in this. But long story short, minus the little add-ons that we're going to add into this to clean this up a little bit from a visual standpoint, this is the methodology to get our students from 0 to 10K a month. Your goal as a coach is to consistently and predictably, right? If we're talking about client delivery, this would be the logistical side. Take every student through this process and then couple that with really good emotional intelligence, really good ability to connect and relate with each student, and we'll have the best fucking program in the game. So appreciate you guys, and let's get it.